It's likely this mistake has not only been causing you frustration, but also holding you back from achieving your full potential on YouTube. If you want to learn why you should stop creating YouTube videos backwards, stick around. We've got you covered.
Hey, welcome to the Video Creators Podcast presented by vidIQ. You know how you put a lot of time and energy into your YouTube channel for not nearly enough growth? Yep, we get it. We are here today to help you change that.
Hello creators, how are you guys? It's great to see you for another Video Creators Podcast brought to you by vidIQ like we do every Monday. Just hanging out, sharing more advanced growth tips and tactics, next level strategy, helping you grow your business and helping you reach more people so you can change more lives. Today I'm hanging out with Ingrid and Blake. How are you guys doing?
I am living the dream. I've got my coffee. I'm ready to chat. Let's do it.
Talking to us, your favorite people.
Ingrid is, yeah.
Love it.
Oh, okay.
Hey.
Yeah, hey.
Hey, he's a fellow PC guy. You got to be on my side here, Blake.
Bring Tim back.
Every week, we love to highlight a creator that we work with here at Video Creators. And this week, we are highlighting Edris Toussaint, who actually is from Quebec in Canada, living in Australia. And here's a bit of our conversation together.
I'm a sports videographer myself. I work full time with sports teams and athlete promoters, leagues, all that stuff. And before that, I was in television. So video production obviously was already a big part of my life. But funny enough, YouTube for me was sort of a creative outlet because in the industry, like there's ultimately, I love to be creative. That's why I went in it. But there's always someone, either like in TV, it's either a director or a producer, like someone that's there to tell you what the video is going to be about, or take that out, put that in, change this, change that. And even when I started sports videography and ultimately started my own business, did some freelance, I thought that would provide me the freedom that I wanted. But even then, the clients sort of become really who decides what's in the video and what's not. So YouTube became really that place where I could finally just have my own ideas for videos and do what I want to do and sort of take it where I want to take it and just have fun that way. And that made YouTube fun, but that also made my entire job more fun because I had that outlet basically.
Right. So what did you, when you started your channel, what were you looking for your efforts from YouTube? Like what were the things you were trying to achieve by starting this channel?
So the idea was to obviously just have fun, do our own thing. I had a friend like helping me, but at the same time I was planning on ultimately, because I had my own business, which was dealing with clients. And I saw that as maybe like a second part of the business that would be more creative, more our own thing. The channel evolved a lot since then, because from telling stories, I started getting involved a lot in the UFC. So I started doing content around that a lot. And through that time, like vlogging became a big thing. So I started doing a lot of behind the scenes stuff. And so by doing behind the scenes stuff, that meant I was in front of the camera a lot more, and then doing a bit of a tutorial here and there, because UFC events weren't necessarily every week for me. So there was a long time between drinks. So sometimes I would just throw in a tutorial or something to be interesting, because I like to watch Peter McKinnon and people like that, and that's what they were doing. So I also saw that as something it made a lot more sense to turn that into a business than the UFC and the sport documentaries, because those were a lot harder to monetize in all the different forms of monetizations.
What else, what's a struggle you kind of bumped into along the way, I guess, in your journey as a creator?
Well, there's probably a few, but like one of them would be like managing my time, for example, because I'm lucky enough that my job and my YouTube channel sort of intertwine a lot, which means that I can work on my channel, during the day at the office and things like that. And also my work sort of feeds me content for my YouTube channel. So it's definitely helpful for that. But it also means that I'm working. It becomes this thing where you're always working, because you're working for the clients, you're working for YouTube. It just becomes this one big thing. There's no separation, and you're just always working. Yeah. So you have to. So I had to sort of make sure that I sort of schedule things a bit better, like whether it's the editing time and things like that, just so that I have like specific days where I'm working on specific things, just so that, because otherwise it would become this thing where if I'm not doing anything, I feel guilty because I'm surely I'm wasting time here. So,
Yeah.
so like when you've got a schedule and you know that it's okay to not do anything today because the schedule is in place that I won't be in trouble, then yeah, it's a bit better, because otherwise I tend to be a bit of a workaholic. So I have to I have to make sure I manage it the right way.
I definitely understand that. Is there any other, I guess, things with your channel that you might have, you mentioned there's other obstacles as well too. Like what's another obstacle you might have, you kind of run to along the way as well?
Yeah, but for me, well, like I said at the beginning, like the money side of things, it was just like making sure that I create, because again, making money potentially means like spending more time on the channel that I don't have. So it's about finding ways to make this a profitable, exercise, but at the same time, not necessarily add, 10, 20 hours a week just to try to make more money, like do it in a way that won't take more of my time. So for example, I'm selling like digital products, like sound effects that are specific to sports and LUTs that are specific to sports. So that's, that was work at the beginning, but once it's done, it's on the website. It's all, I don't have to do anything. So that for me, that's the perfect way to do it, because I'm a one-man band for most things. But and then eventually I'd like to do courses. I'd like to do things like that. But yeah, so it was the trying to find the way to run the business so it doesn't add more hours to my workload.
Yeah, that's smart. Yeah, for sure. I know Peter McKinnon sells LUTs and that as well too. So I mean, definitely cool. I didn't even know you did the sound effects as well. That's pretty cool. Do you like speak in the microphone and make your own sound effects, or what do you do?
Yeah, a bit of both. Yeah, a bit of everything. So
that's really cool.
Some stuff, got some from people I know. It's like a mismatch of a bunch of things. But yeah, it's cool because it's specific to sports as well. Like that's definitely my thing. Like if there's like 12 different sports in there. So if you're a sports videographer and instead of going to all these different online libraries and trying to find one here and another one there, then it's just all in one place, and it's sort of a very, very niche. But if you're in that niche, it's very helpful.
So I guess now in figuring out the time management or even like the products to kind of sell on your channel as well too, or kind of like funnel from your channel, are you able to are you getting the results you're looking for when it comes to, having more time and getting some sales from that? Like, are you finding it's a little bit better now?
Yeah, it's definitely going in the right direction. I think it can always improve, but I'm at that point now where I want to transition from my full-time job to, like I think I was saying off air to you, I'm a full-time sports videographer and I do my YouTube channel on the side, but I want to be a full-time YouTuber and use my sports videography to sort of feed my YouTube channel, because it's such a big part of my content. I can't just stop and not do it, because then it would just be me talking to the camera with no real sports involved. Yeah. So I don't want the channel to be about that. I want to be on the field. That's what I like to do in my videos. I want to be there and show it and explain it as it's happening. So I want to keep doing that. But if the sports videography side of thing is just made specifically to feed the channel, then it helps me sort of do a lot less client stuff, and then I can spend that time on promoting my products a bit better, creating more digital packs and other products that I want to do. Maybe do more consulting, which I do a little bit already. Cool. Things like that. Yeah,
I guess so. And getting the results, I guess you're kind of looking for. How is that making you feel? Are you kind of feeling more confident in the direction of becoming full time eventually, or yeah? Yeah, definitely. I think at first I knew there was a way. I had no idea, to be honest. Like when I started, I didn't really know how to do any of that. I just sort of went in because I knew no one was doing sports videography. So I was like, I'm just going to go into it, be the first one, and I'll do my mistakes as I go and, whatever. And I gradually got better. So I was, reassured that I was going in the right direction. And now I was sort of plateauing a bit because I was getting to a point where, I was already pretty good in video production, but when it comes to the YouTube side of things, like you listen to podcasts and things like that, and you get better, but you sort of plateau. So getting involved with video creators, with Studio Labs and all that stuff like that really helped me like now have a much clearer idea of the direction of certain things and the branding and all these things. So
So I already knew that I was going in the right direction, but now I feel like I just sort of have a bit of a speed booster that's going to help me sort of take that extra leap. And
Right.
yeah.
Well, Edris, I want to thank you so much for your time. It's been awesome chatting with you again, and it's been awesome getting to know you in Video Labs also. Thanks so much for your time. Appreciate it.
Well, thank you. Appreciate it.
I love how Edris was talking about how working with video creators was like a speed booster for his channel. All these connections he made around how to implement these strategies into his content. So if you're in the same boat wanting to know, how do I implement primal branding or hooks or titles and thumbnails effectively into my content, then we'd love to work with you and surround you with a team of strategists like myself, Molly, or even Sam. So you can go ahead and go to videocreators.com/consulting and book a 1-hour session with us if that's something that feels like would be effective for you. And we'd love to hear your story, get to know you, and see if we can help push you forward towards your YouTube goals.
Guys, I feel like this is a conversation that we've had before. We're going to have it many more times with creators, but it's one of the things I think that really trips a lot of people up. Really kind of not having a proper order to a workflow for a video. And I thought it would be kind of fun if we chat about why this is really ineffective.
Yeah, 100%.
So,
100%.
yeah.
I think just to start right off the bat, I mean, it can be stressful for you even as a creator. Going in a workflow that doesn't make sense because you're trying to create content. I mean, I know what it's like as a creator to build something that you're so proud of, upload it, and then not get the results that you want. And a lot of times it could be just because we're not approaching the content from the way it's meant to be approached, which then throws off you in the creation process, but your audience in the receiving process of not knowing or understanding that this video could be the right thing for them.
So give us a little bit more context when you say not the right approach. What does that look like?
I think, well, just right off the bat, I feel like people and during the upload process is when they're spending their time making their titles and thumbnails, when really that should be the kind of the first thing to kind of tackle. I mean, the viewer journey is what we're looking at, right? What does YouTube want from us? And the start of that journey is going to be the click. And a lot of times people will think, okay, well, I'll make the video the best I can. And then during the upload, let's think of a title. And without really thinking about it, you make one in the moment without actually taking the time to experiment with that title or just take a screen grab or a quick thumbnail without thinking, okay, is this going to be effective to find the right person? Is it going to pull them in? Or am I just trying to find something to slap on there in hopes that it might work?
Yeah, I think there's actually a lot of times I feel like as a creator, it can be easy to kind of lack the intent, when you're planning a video and you kind of have your process of how you do things, like kind of being set in your ways in a sense, and just kind of doing the rhythm. We shoot the video, we edit it, we start uploading it, we think of the title and the thumbnail, and then that's just kind of the way it is. But having the intent even before you hit record can go a long way in like really getting the most bang for your buck.
Yeah, and I feel like it's also, I see some creators too, like they want to create a story after filming the content in the edit. So I'm curious for the two of you, because I know both of you have worked with clients that have done this and probably do this very consistently. I would think vlogging style content a lot. The story is found in the edit. What are your thoughts here?
It's hard. I mean, I know of some creators, bigger creators that do this. So like Mark Rober will film his content and then think afterwards, how do I pull that story from that? And it's like, you can do that, but it can be really time consuming, really frustrating because you're trying to go through hours and hours of footage, rather than being intentional about, okay, looking for the story, like either going in with a plan of like, okay, what am I looking for? What potentially could happen? What do I want to happen? Being open to the changes as you're seeing that story unfold in real time is probably more beneficial than looking back and trying to grab things afterwards and missing out on what the potential story was that we just didn't think about, right?
Yeah,
totally. Yeah, it's funny. I just had this conversation with a creator right before jumping into this recording right now, so it's very fresh on my mind right now too. But I think I mean, I think there's a lot of things you can do. I think especially for maybe a more vlog type of channel, it's hard when you don't know exactly what's going to happen that day. Like the creator I was talking to, they're going to a theme park this week and they were like, I want to set up the story, but I don't know. We've never been to this park. We don't know what's going to happen. How do we set the story up? And so I think there is a lot of value that can be found in post. You know, you can do a voiceover of some of the clips that you got while you're at the park. You can kind of set the story up that way too. But I think at the same time, as much proactive planning that you can do ahead of time, even if setting up the story is like, this is our first time at this park today and we're here as a family. The kids are normally at college and this is like the only time we get together. We just want to have a great day. Like even something like that is setting up a story, even if there's a lot of unknown. And then I really think just getting as much footage as you can is helpful, because if you're going to organize a lot of it in post, maybe it just kind of is what it is. If you have more footage to work with, then at least you have some more opportunities to kind of, find that story too.
Yeah, go ahead, Ingrid.
I was just going to say, I feel like also for creators, I think it's okay that if you have something, you film it, you think it's going to go one way, but be okay with maybe that not being the plan in the post-production. And maybe you didn't intend this to have like a voiceover or something where you're adding extra bits, but maybe using that, not using the audio maybe, and finding a new story. I think that's okay too.
Totally. Yeah. I think Blake, you may have actually shared this Mark Rober interview or whatever it was with me, where he will actually shoot his intro hook last at the end of the day, because it's the same kind of thing. He's like, I don't know if this is going to work or not, this experiment or whatever his video is going to be about. And so even something like that, going through the whole day and then being mindful to think of, okay, let me shoot the intro now, because things have probably shifted a little bit or didn't quite go the direction you thought it was going to go at the beginning of the day. Just shooting it at the end of the day is great. Now you got your story, you got your hook, and there's less effort you need to put in after the fact when you're editing and post.
Yeah. And that being said too, I think one of the easiest ways to kind of set yourself up for a win, especially when it comes to a vlogging channel, I mean, even if things unfold later on and you're doing your hook maybe after, waking up and saying, okay, what is it I want today? Just asking yourself that question and being open to, okay, today finding a purpose for your life in that day of just knowing, okay, this is what I'm trying to accomplish today. Let's see what happens. And then that gives you that starting basis of who's the character, what do they want, what's at stake if we don't get it, and then allowing those obstacles to kind of follow through as the day unfolds.
And I feel like when people don't set themselves up for success without a plan, it feels like, and I think Blake kind of touched on this, the order that they go in, they film their videos, right? Without a script. Mm-hmm. They're trying to create the story without knowing what the story is in post. Asking people to like and subscribe within the first few minutes. Yeah, that's a pet peeve of ours. Just gonna call it out. If that's you, please stop. If you haven't delivered any value, I'm not going to subscribe. And then, like you said, Blake, they upload their video and then think of the title and the thumbnail. Okay. And that's what we're pointing out is ineffective. So let's talk a little bit about then the right order. Where will you start?
Maybe it's a bit big picture, but I feel like the first thing we should be thinking of really is kind of like our audience. If we're thinking of like content ideation and we're thinking about, okay, we have a new video we got to make. What are we going to do? The starting point should be first thinking of, okay, who's the audience? What is the type of content that this person needs to see? And how do we package that into a video that's ideally going to reach the right people? I think starting with that is really important, because what that's going to really do is help YouTube kind of do the heavy lifting for us, because all the algorithm is really trying to do is surface the right video to the right person at the right time. So if we're starting with that as our very first step, that's only going to set us up for success and really kind of actually funnel into all of the other things that we're going to do after that.
Yeah. So what do you feel would be the next step once you've kind of figured that out for that video.
Actually, before we kind of move forward even to that, I just want to add that even, when it comes to consultations, we spend that much time in the target audience because that's how much that affects even your video specifically, right? And it does literally all come back down to everything back to your target audience, because I cannot create the best video possible if I don't know who I'm making the video for, because going too broad, it's not going to reach the right person. And yeah, YouTube wants to service your content to somebody, and it's looking for viewing patterns, which is your target audience. So the more we're intentional about that video for that person, the easier that's going to be to create the story that they want, the value that they want, but even for YouTube to know, okay, this is who the content's for this person.
So I'm just curious, because this just kind of sparked an idea in my head here. When we talk about target audience, and yes, I know we're talking about target audience again, it always comes back to target audience. We say that over and over again, but it really does. It really, truly does. And I think that when, you craft, your ideal avatar, a lot of times people just think channel wide. Can your audience slightly vary from video to video?
It's a good question, Sam.
That is a question, Blake.
I mean, think about it, because sometimes our ideal audience covers a little bit of a broad spectrum, right? So maybe let's look at the how-to niche. Okay, let's take, any channel that teaches something. Maybe something's a little more specific to one thing, and maybe the next one is a little bit specific to something else, right? So I don't know, thoughts?
Yeah, it's kind of interesting, because that even makes me think of, if you are, let's say you're in kind of a smaller niche and you're having a hard time breaking out and reaching new people, or maybe you even have a lot of subscribers, but they're the only ones engaging with your content and you're having a hard time reaching new people, non-subscribed viewers. And let's say you're going to try to go make like a broader, more discoverable piece of content that's ideally going to bring in more people. That would be a scenario where I would think, okay, like maybe we can make it a bit broader appeal and just broaden our scope a little bit and not go crazy, but we can maybe tap into like maybe a trending topic or something that's happening in the world that, it's going to be a bit of a broader audience, but can at least give us an opportunity to reach new people who haven't been exposed to us yet.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I was thinking too when it came to like, okay, what kind of content is this? Is it discoverable? Because in that case, we can broaden the spectrum just a touch because we're looking for lead magnets for our channel. At the same time, I tell a lot of creators as well that, as long as it fits under the umbrella of the value of your channel, it makes sense. So some people get stuck to a specific niche and they kind of want to touch within that. But I'm like, okay, well, as long as it's clear in your channel, this is what to expect. This is what the value is. If it fits under that umbrella, then it's kind of okay to experiment around that, because your audience, your audience wants that.
And then maybe you're making a community video, right? And in that case, the target audience for that video are people that already know, like, and trust you, right? They've already watched your content. So you're going to craft that video a little bit differently. And this is kind of like what we're talking about. You need to kind of think about who's the audience for this video, right? To start. Yeah, this was a good conversation. I love kind of like your guys' insight in that. What would be like, once you have the target audience, what is the next step?
100% would be the title and thumbnail at that point. Again,
title first or thumbnail first?
I think title first for sure. I think knowing what the story of the video is.
You?
I think title. I think the title.
So funny. I'm going to say thumbnail. Yeah. I'm going to totally disagree with you guys.
That's
here.
So interesting.
I want to know why you guys say title first.
Okay.
The reason
you go first, Blake.
Yeah, the reason I say title first, because I think that will be like, I think of a book cover, like I'm going to come up with the title of the book first, and then how do I tell that story of that title in that picture? So I almost want to know what I want to communicate first, and then visually explain that in the imagery as well.
Yeah, maybe it is kind of like an egg and the chicken sort of conversation, but I always think that the title, at least for me, gives context to what the visual should be. And then it's like, how can that visual like make this more powerful based on the title that I'm thinking of?
See, and the way I look at it is the very first thing that the viewer is going to see is the thumbnail.
Fair enough.
So if I can't clearly tell that story visually, then I don't have it. See, and I feel like the thing that you were just talking about, Sam, to me is the text that might go on the thumbnail, right?
Yeah.
The right, yeah. But in all honesty, though, they're both kind of crafted together.
Yeah.
But if I were really thinking through something first, I'm going to think through the visual. If I have to visually tell what my idea is, what does that look like? And that's just how my brain works. And maybe that's just the artist side of me, you know? But then the title too is the context.
Yeah.
And the intrigue.
Yeah. I mean, you're not wrong. I do tell creators in consultations a
Blake.
lot. Yeah. I mean, I didn't mean it. Like, although my perspective is a little bit different, working in consultations, I do tell people, I'm like, it's odds are they're going to see your thumbnail first, which is probably going to be the bigger, because we are visual people and we're pulled that we're like on the homepage, we're competing with all these visuals.
Totally.
Then they're likely going to read your title after that. But yeah, when they go both, it's a both and they're hand in hand. So like if I change the wording in my title a little bit, it's probably going to affect the imagery a little bit in my thumbnail as well too. So it's kind of hard they're both crafted at the same time.
Yeah, I could see it changing on like a case by case basis too. Like I'm just imagining like the theme park example, like these people going to the theme park for the first time and trying out this like super iconic new ride. That's my brain's going to thumbnail first. Like, all right, well, we're going to have a great shot of that. Now, how do we think of a great title to accompany that? Yeah, I could totally see it working both ways, either way.
Yeah, you're right. And actually really thinking about the vlogging space, because I think in that case, you know, it's really as you're experiencing it, you have to grab those visual shots that are going to be those potentials, because you're not 100% sure where you're going to land sometimes. The story can evolve as you are, you know, experiencing whatever the thing is. So I think that in that niche, thumbnail over title. But what's right after that? Because those aren't alone. There's a third component to a title and a thumbnail.
Yeah, and our hook. I think our hook comes next. I mean, we create that expectation with our title and thumbnail, but our job then is we have to fulfill that expectation for the viewer. If I tease something in the title and thumbnail that's very intriguing or benefit and reward, and I take 3 minutes to get to that, I've lost or even like less than that. If I take 15, 20 seconds to get to it, I'm going to lose the viewer because they signed up for one thing expecting it, and I'm failing to deliver that to them immediately.
It's frustrating for me that hooks have become that, because I feel like sometimes, and I'm sure the audience can probably relate to this, but sometimes it's really hard to craft hooks in under 10 seconds. I've seen clients and a lot of YouTube creators do amazing things in 3 to 5 seconds. It's kind of crazy. But I feel like one of the tendencies when you do start to run long, and this is just something that I would love for people to hear, is when you're going longer, I feel like we're giving too much information. And then it's not really a hook. It's almost more just you're introducing the video more than anything. Would you guys say that to be true or accurate?
Yeah, I think so. I've seen people even be pretty redundant, saying the same few things over and over again in that first 15 seconds of telling me, I wouldn't really call it a hook sometimes, but they repeat what's going to be happening in the title in that hook, and then almost repeat it 2 or 3 times after that, trying to set up more context. So yeah, so definitely giving more information than what's needed.
Yeah, I've noticed that. And then, we see the call to actions at the beginning too. That happens sometimes. You see the branded spots with the music playing behind it and the cool graphics. And then it's, it just kind of feels like kind of going with the motions at this point. It doesn't really add a whole lot. And I think YouTube's made it so easy to like leave a video or skip through a video, because you even have on the timeline player, you can hover over the the timeline and it'll give you that tiny little thumbnail, so you can just skip to where you're trying to go. So instead of 30 seconds into your video delivering on the title and thumbnail that you just presented, where the viewer is probably going to find that anyway and skip ahead. Like, why not just start with that, have a compelling hook, picks up right from where the thumbnail left off, and then just get into it.
Yeah, I think a lot of that beginning aspects of a video is a rhetoric we've developed over YouTube over time, where it's everyone's been doing, hey, welcome back to my channel, like, comment, subscribe. Everyone feels the need to do it. Although when I ask creators why they do it, they don't really know why. They're just like, oh, well, that's what everyone does on YouTube, right? It's like, okay, well, how is that working for you? Is that effective? Or can we move away from that and try something else that could be more beneficial for your channel?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
So
I had a side question for you guys. When it comes to, and I've heard, just because this is from personal experience too, when it comes to like people asking for subscriptions, even in the first few seconds or in the video, I have seen friends, as I've been around them, literally click away from the video because they just are so tired of the begging for subscribers. Have you guys noticed that as well too?
Yeah, I've noticed that. I've noticed there's a lot of language in actually kind of a lot of the creators that I've just like randomly watched in my fun time, my personal time when I'm watching YouTube. I don't know why that was the phrase that came to mind. When I'm just watching YouTube myself, I will see some of the language is kind of like, leave me a like because it like really helps me out. It only takes like 2 seconds, and it's like they're adding so many disclaimers and things to it that it's even taking more time to just get to what I clicked for. That I've found that really frustrating for myself. Like, I would have almost rather you just said, by the way, hit the like button and then you kind of get into it. I still don't love that, but I feel like, there is kind of this sense now where it just adds frustration.
I feel like it reverses the value at that point too, because at that point you're putting the value back on me as the creator. Please like my comment, please, like my video. Please comment on my video. It's like, hey, I'm here to serve you, not the other way around, right?
I appreciate when creators work like a subscribing creatively.
Oh yeah,
Yeah. I think probably several years back, Markiplier was a very big gaming gamer, and he was very creatively, and I've seen a lot of people copy it now, but just telling his audience, I don't understand why so few of you are watching my video. It's I would love to have more subscribers, but it's all non-subscribers, which technically is kind of a little bit of what you want.
Right.
You want to have that potential to gain more subscribers, but it kind of having a little bit of playful banter there with the audience. Yeah. And so then, as a potential subscriber being like, I'm not subscribed, I want to help this guy out, especially if you connect with him, and I thought that was really creative when I heard that several years back. Now, of course, now a lot of people are doing it. So it's become a little bit more of, something that people follow. Right. But I feel like when you work things in organically, no matter what it is, brand deals, call to actions in some way after they've delivered value or it's the right context, if it's effortless, I have no problem listening to it and actually probably taking the action.
Yeah. Mr. Who's the Boss on YouTube, it's almost primal branding for him now. Every single time he does it, but he inserts a pun around it depending on the topic he's speaking about. So when I hear it, I expect it and I kind of get a giggle out of it because it fits the content he's doing, and he does it more of a primal branding ritual more than just asking or begging for subscribers at that point. So yeah, I definitely have seen that too.
Interesting. So what do you guys think about, like, telling stories? Where does that fit in the workflow for a creator?
Yeah, well, I guess maybe I just have a short attention span, but I feel like maybe to kind of like bring us back to where we're at for the creator listening, we're saying proactively, like, we still haven't even hit record yet. The first things in your workflow should be we're defining the target audience for this video. We're thinking of what the title and thumbnail is even going to be for this type of video. We've thought about the hook, ideally scripted it, or got enough of an idea of how we're going to get into this video. So then kind of moving into, are we telling a story here? Like, what is kind of the meat of our content? I guess there's a couple ways you could do this. I would think of, if we're going to tell a story, kind of thinking of that in tandem with the hook. I think ideally kind of opening with a storytelling structure of some of those storytelling questions of like, who's the character? What does the character want? why can't they have what they want? Like, what are some of the obstacles, and are there any stakes? What's at stake if they can't get what they want? That can make a great hook if that's the opening of your video. So maybe thinking through those questions as you're approaching this video and thinking about like, okay, can I tell a story with this type of video? How would I answer those questions? How can we start to kind of frame it more from here?
I love using those questions when just even planning out a video. Not even just a script, but just the ideation of the video itself. I've always found that to be a very practical exercise. So if this is something that you struggle with, definitely rewind this, not because we want more watch time or listening time.
Yeah, and subscribe.
And subscribe and like and all the good things. But really listen back to that, because it is a real powerful thing if story is something that you struggle with, and it doesn't have to be complicated. It can literally be those questions that Sam asked, and just how would you answer those about your topic? And there's your framework for your script or your story.
Yeah. So the creator that I was talking to earlier today, we were talking about storytelling, because I think storytelling has this connotation to it that feels really intimidating, or oh, I'm a this type of channel. I'm a educational channel. I can't do storytelling. Like, that's for someone else out there. That's not for me. And so I really do believe, like, if you can answer those first 4 questions and then, like you said, like frame the video from that perspective, and then just keep going, like keep thinking through the video. If you script videos, keep scripting it, just keep thinking about it from that sense. There's a lot of good opportunities that can come from that. And I also really do think storytelling is just a muscle. Like, the more that you work it out, the more it's going to feel natural. Like the creator that I worked with today, we were looking through some of her data, and she had just started storytelling in her videos. So I was asking her how she felt about it. And she was like, it just feels awkward. Like, I've been doing it this way for so long. I'm kind of unlearning some things, and it just feels clunky. I don't really know how I'm doing so far. And so I had broke down a retention graph for her and shared my screen and was like, well, let's see what the data says. And so, how you can see kind of the gray, kind of average, like this is what the average retention looks like, that little gray line. It was kind of on par for about half of the video. And then for the whole second half of the video, like totally surpassed. It stayed pretty much flat for the whole rest of the video. Nice. Because at the very beginning, she had introduced this idea or these obstacles and kind of this, is the character going to prevail or not? And so that affects the entire video, even to the point where so many more people were engaged for the whole second half of the video. So it was really cool to see. And that was kind of her first shot at it too. So.
I love that. And I also really, if you think about it, think of movies here. They plan their stories out so much. They storyboard literally the entire movie, before even hitting film. So why not take that kind of an approach? Now, I'm not saying that you have to, draw out every single little scene, because that just sounds insane to me. But
I mean, you can if you want.
I had to do that in college. It was not fun.
Did you really?
Well, I studied animation for a bit, so in preparation for assignments, we'd storyboard everything as well, and it's a lot of work. But it does help you kind of, in the long run, I will say, as frustrating as it was in the process, pre-production will always make production and post-production that much easier, because you know exactly what to expect, what shot is next, what to follow. Like, that's why we script everything, because it makes the production so much easier on yourself. That way you're not stumbling over your words. You have something to follow. You know what shots you need for certain things. It makes the workflow that much easier.
So what I heard was plan your story before you film.
Yeah.
That's what I heard. Okay. Now, when we're getting to the end, though, now it's time to put in what we like to think of as the second hook, really. And this is kind of like your call to action here at the end. What does that look like for somebody listening practically?
Yeah. Easy. Smash the like button, subscribe.
And we out.
And we're out. And use ending language. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Well, the first thing you mentioned too was the end of our content, which was the first step. End of the content rather than the beginning of the content. So that's the first step, keeping that for the end. And then like, comment, subscribe, all those sorts of things.
They're kidding. Don't do that.
I know.
Very first thing though is ending language, avoiding that at all costs, because what we're going to do after this will be less effective if we're telling people the video's over. And it's so easy to do that. And the more I look at people's channels, the more I hear it. And it's like just psychology wise, like there's words that will trigger our brain to say, oh, this is over. I'm going to leave now without you even intending to do it. I've done it in my own videos where at the end of a section, I've said something that would tie up that section, but it's caused people to leave. That's how easy it is to do that. So at the end of your content, being aware of like how do I transfer out of this story or this problem that I'm talking about and pivot into another problem or story or desire that your audience might want, rather than saying, hope that was helpful, or yep, so that's it. I need those cues. I know the video's done. I'm going to click somewhere else. I'm going to miss everything you're going to say that is super valuable after that.
If this is the first time for somebody listening to us, I would love to kind of go over those cues a little bit more. Mm-hmm. So you mentioned a couple. You said wrap up language. I'm trying to think of even what you said, like video being done, or thanks for watching would be another one.
Yeah, hope that was helpful.
What would be some other types of cues?
I think maybe so. Even just saying that in that sort of tone. So that's, as soon as you start to say that, or if you enjoyed,
Yeah. I think that also things like music coming on where there's been no music the entire video, that's clear sign that, okay, we're about to wrap things up. What other things can you think of?
It's hard to say. Sometimes you can just feel when the video's ending. Like I don't know how to explain that. Like you can tell when the body language sometimes too, like they're sitting back there, they feel like a lot more relaxed than what it was. You almost want to keep that tension going because you want them to stick around into that secondary hook, right?
Well, and it's tricky too. Like if we have educational channels listening right now, if you do art of some kind and then all of a sudden you have all these different images, then that's ending language. Or, I think of like the pretty shots, right? The beauty shots of the project of whatever it is, whether it's whether it's gardening, no matter what the niche is in the how-to space. I think there's a little bit of a dangerous area there at the end if you hang too long. Ideally, you really want to be delivering value 5 to 10 seconds into your end screen. So that means that if you're still delivering value, you're not going to be segueing to a bunch of shots of what it is. Or think of like a cooking channel. A lot of times they like to eat whatever it is, but I see a lot of channels sometimes hang too long in that spot. So I think that it's important to deliver something of value first, 5 to 10 seconds in, then segue to an effective call to action with a deep, deep why I should take it. Not just say, if you want to see the next video, click here. Yeah. Because that's not going to work. That's not giving me a deep enough reason to do that. You got to give me some sort of a hook, some sort of intrigue, some sort of reason for me to take that. And then if you want to take your bite of your lasagna afterwards, you can do that, but don't do it before.
Yeah. I always tell people, don't give me the option to click or not click. Convince me that I need to click. That's a lot more effective. Again, I use the example, although it's a little extreme. I can say, hey, watch this next video, or this video is going to change your life. Which one has more tension in that, right? And thinking in those terms to really give them a reason they need this video, and they'd be silly of them not to click on it.
Yeah, and I think remembering too, like everything we're talking about is, we haven't hit record yet, for the creator planning this out. And maybe that sounds like there's a lot and it's kind of intimidating. And, we're not saying that you have to even script the entire video. Like I'm curious what you guys think as far as scripting goes, but I'm a fan of scripting your intro hook and then scripting your outro call to action. If you have a script for the meat in between, great. But like maybe you're a vlogging channel, you don't even know what's going to happen that day. There's a lot of variance that could happen in between, but I think to at least be proactive enough to know how we're going to get into the video and then how we're going to get somebody into the next. Because again, like all of this revolves around kind of the viewer journey. That's kind of like the path I feel like we're taking here as we're talking. So the more proactive we can be with that, before hitting record is just going to set ourselves up for success when we do.
So why would you say that you're a fan of scripting the intro, the introductory hook at the beginning, and the outro hook?
I think it's just, those are, I feel like, very intentional and really pivotal places. Like when you look in your retention graph in the opening 15 seconds, and if you've lost 50% of people in the opening 15 seconds, it's very deflating because that affects the entire rest of your video.
Yeah.
So you can be super intentional to make a short hook that's crafted the best you possibly can. Maybe you have 70, 75% of people are there now for this next video. That's like a lot more people who are going to potentially stay and watch the rest of your video. That could make a big difference. I think the same goes for the end call to action as well. Potentially if you could get a high number of people to go watch another video, that can have some really exponential results. So just taking some extra care there, I think, can go a long way.
I feel like those are the two most vulnerable spots in your video where people are ready to leave, at the beginning and at the end. So that's why I think being that intentional to be aware of that, like, hey, at the beginning of my video, everyone's looking for a reason to click off to go somewhere else. If they stick around, odds are they're probably going to stick around for a little bit of their time, but there's a lot more meat here. At the end, again, they're ready to click somewhere else. They're the two most vulnerable states of a video that I need to be really intentional about crafting so that I can convince them to do the action that I need them to do.
I love the way you phrased that, Blake. Vulnerable. That's a great way of putting it. And I feel like one of the things that a lot of creators don't think of when they go to craft this and just consider that they're going to wing this is the fact that timing in these areas is crucial, especially at the end. You have a very limited amount of time there. So you don't want to waste a single second. Same thing in the beginning. Wasting a couple seconds in the beginning can make or break your video. You could lose 10 to 20% of your audience, and that means you have that many fewer videos at the end when you're doing your effective call to action. It really, truly is that important. All right. So have we finally hit record here, Sam?
I think so, right? I think we've been proactive about all of these things. Yeah, I'm curious what you guys think, but I think we're about ready to shoot the video.
Okay, so now that we have actually shot the video, what's that next step? And I feel like a lot of people rush through this part and just upload. What would be something else that would be a potential good idea for a creator?
I think this is a bit of a two-parter. The first one being spending time to craft your video, so editing it, in a way for retention as well too. Like, how do I keep people engaged? A lot of times I've seen creators, and it can be difficult to do this. I'm not saying it's impossible, but having just looking at you sitting there the entire time speaking about something, it's hard to hold someone's attention that long. So thinking about how am I telling a story, but how can I show and not just tell what I'm talking about? At the same time, going through that process, once we've crafted the video, feedback. Before I even want to post this, you get nose blind to your content all the time. I do. The best thing to do is ask for feedback. What do you guys think? Where'd you get bored? What could I change? What didn't hold your attention? Those sorts of things.
Yeah, I agree. Sometimes too, like we were talking about it earlier, sometimes some of the storytelling takes place in the edit. So I think that also takes a lot of care as well, as far as like, is there an area here that needs more context and I should do a voiceover here? Is there some B-roll that I could add? Something that I actually love that I see sometimes with creators that I watch are when they cut to like, the creator in his hoodie and he's like, all right, editor Sam here, I totally forgot like this thing here. And it kind of like pulls you behind the curtain a bit. And then they set up some context and then you get back to the video. Little moments like that to be mindful of while you're editing too. I think that can go a long way as well.
Yeah, I feel like in general, editing also, like doing that final edit, it like Blake said, I think you said what did you say?
Blind.
Nose blind, which is just interesting. Yeah, we get so super close to the content. When you are watching back your final edit, have every single possible distraction up around you. notification windows, the whole gamut. Something interesting. If anything pulls your attention at any point in your video, chances are your viewer's leaving. Yep.
Yeah,
and definitely get feedback.
I've even heard from a couple bigger creators in some podcasts say as well too. And these people have millions of subscribers. They still do the same thing. They'll craft a video, have their friends watch it, and then they'll watch their faces to see when their eyes dart away to know, okay, at this point, I'll tweak this or I'll move this, to know that, okay, again, when I'm making the video, it works, but I want to make sure that the reaction of my audience is going to be what is more effective for them. So.
Yeah, I think ultimately it's just super important to approach content on a step-by-step basis, really thinking through the process, beginning from the foundation with your target audience all the way through all the signals that YouTube is looking for. You don't want to confuse yourself, your audience, but most importantly, you certainly don't want to confuse YouTube.
Every week, we love to leave you with a power tip, something to think about moving forward with your channel. And this week, I want to talk about an update that YouTube's adding to your YouTube Music app. They're now adding podcasts to this, so you can listen to your favorite podcasts from your favorite channels on the go. You're able to download that for yourselves. This is now just available in the US, but YouTube will be rolling this out as well to other places as time goes on. But a really great way to kind of listen and engage with your favorite creators on the go. Thanks for listening to another Video Creators Podcast. See you next time. Bye.